Hey. Y'all don't mind me. It's raining. My hair done got rained on. It's okay. I just running a few little errands. But I know I have not checked in on a while vividly. So this is me live and in the flesh, okay? But I just want to encourage you this morning or this afternoon because I know I need some encouragement. So I walked outside this morning getting ready to walk my dog, and I noticed there was like this little dugout, which has been there for a minute, and I realized that something was trying to plant something there. And I told you guys, I think previously in my other apartment, I had noticed that ducks was sitting there trying to lay eggs, and I was just like, no, because you know these ducks do not play about these eggs. Okay, they don't play. So I was like, I don't want to open my door and this duck sitting down there, and then he trying to beat me down by his egg, okay, or her egg. Like, I don't want them problems. So I walked outside this morning with my dog, and I looked down and I'm like, oh my God, it's an egg. So I was just like, dang, it's a little egg out here. So I had asked my baby, like, dang, did you see the egg? Did you see the duck lay the egg? So he like, oh, it's an egg. He didn't know the egg was there. So I'm just like, dang, I wonder how long the egg been sitting there. And so it got me to thinking about harvest. And I know I was talking about this previously about harvest and the seeds that we sow until like just people and ourselves and other things. And so sometimes we don't feel like our harvest is coming. Sometimes we feel like, okay, our harvest is long overdue, but whole time a lot of things that God has given us has been the fruit of our labor. Sometimes the things and trials that we had to go through gave us payment for the things that God promised us. Sometimes it's just that we have to change our perspective to see God show up in a different way to receive what God, I done dropped my phone, to receive what God has for us in a different way. And so I was just like, thinking about sometimes we look at what's not going right, that we can't really see what's going good. Like sometimes we look at the unanswered prayers and we don't get to see the answered prayers. We look at what we don't have instead of looking at what we do have. It's kind of like that glass half full or glass half empty type of thing. So I just wanted to not only just tell you to check your heart, but just remind myself to check my own heart. Okay, first of all, because I was sitting here just praying, just asking God, like, okay, Lord, what is it that you want me to do? And sometimes it's not about what God wants us to do. It's about just allowing God to step in and let him do what he's going to do. And sometimes that doesn't look like what we think. Sometimes that doesn't come in the form that we think it's going to come. And for me, for instance, last weekend or the weekend before that, I got into a car accident. Okay. Thankfully, my car was damaged. My car was damaged. My light is like hanging on by a thread, but, prayerfully and thankfully, I'm fine. My son was fine. His father was fine. Like, we're all fine. And so through that, I was able to, get payment. And so, thankful that obviously, I didn't get harmed. My baby wasn't harmed. Nobody was harmed. And the person that hit me wasn't harmed. And I had been praying for a financial breakthrough, like for God to come through. You guys know that I'm not working in corporate America anymore. And there has been so many things that have just taken my finances and just so many things in general that has just been happening. So I have been asking God for a window from heaven to open up in my finances. And so obviously this was through a means that I didn't expect. But I was just like, okay. It was in that moment that God reminded me, I'm doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it? Sometimes we can't be so focused on how God's going to do it that we miss what God is doing. Because sometimes God has already answered a lot of our prayers, but because it didn't come in the way we thought, we missed it. And like I tell y'all, I can't keep missing it. I can't keep missing what God is doing. You can't afford to keep missing what God is doing because you can't change your eyesight. But yeah, I just want to encourage you that sometimes it takes us to change our perspective in order to be able to see. Y'all, look at my hair. It's okay. That's not why we here. But sometimes it takes you just looking at it through God's eyes. And obviously our ways are not God's ways. His ways are not our ways. So we're never going to fully understand what God is doing. And like I said before, I thought about the verse where it says, you may not understand now what I'm doing, but later you will. And there's been a lot of those moments for me. There's a lot of times where I'm just sitting and I'm just like, aha. Like you'll have that aha moment. And so I just want to encourage you that if you're still looking at something thinking that God hasn't answered you, and maybe it really is that God hasn't answered you yet, but He's answered a lot of your prayers. I'm living in a lot of answered prayers, and because I'm living in them, I know that you are as well. May not be a lot of them. And also the next thing is, don't compare yourself to somebody else, because God's not moving in your life the same somebody else's. So don't compare your blessings to the blessings of somebody else, because God is not blessing you the same way He's blessing somebody else. Your blessing is for you, and that person's blessing is for them. And so I just want to encourage you that sometimes the egg is already planted. You may not see the duck sitting on the egg, but the egg is already sitting there waiting to be hatched. And one day I'm going to walk outside, and that egg is still going to be outside my front door, but the egg is going to be empty, because that baby duck is going to find its way back to its mother. It's going to find its way to wherever it's supposed to go. Whatever God is birthing in you will be birthed. And one day you're going to see the full fruit of your labor. Just continue to build your house on God. Just continue to trust God through it. Just continue to just do it. Like, do it scared. Do it afraid. But most importantly, do it with God. Forget everything else. Forget everything else you could have done. Forget everything else that you could think of doing. But just do it with God. As long as you got God, there ain't nothing. Like I said, look at me. My hair is raining. I look crazy, but that's okay, because we're not here for me. Okay, I'm not always, and this is just a realization of, it don't always have to be perfect. It don't always have to be put together. I'm not always put together. You know, I'm put together to go out and come back home. Okay, I just been driving. Like I said, it's like bad weather here, so it is what it is. The word has to get out regardless. It don't matter how I look, you know. I mean, for the most part, it does matter. But I'm decent, okay? I'm not. But regardless of anything else, just do it, man. Just do it and trust God, because you may not even know that you're birthing something. You may not even know that you're spiritually pregnant with something. Like, and think about how many, like, in real life, how many times women have actually been pregnant and didn't know. You know, for me, that wasn't my story. The moment I conceived, I knew I was pregnant. But it's crazy, because I was further along than I thought I was. I was way further along, and I was scared because I thought I was having twins. But, you know, people kept saying, like, you might be having twins, but just because of, like, how long it was saying I was supposed to be and how dark the line was. But kind of find out I was literally, like, 4 weeks ahead of how far I was technically supposed to be. And even that is just like a miracle sign and wonder, because it's just like, dang, you know. And even in that, like, the doctor literally told me, like, it's by God's grace that you got pregnant, because you weren't so technically, according to my body, I wasn't supposed to be ovulating. And so technically I wasn't supposed to get pregnant, because I wasn't supposed to be ovulating. But because God has the final say, and God said, you know, whatever, you have to take that and apply it to your life. Think about how many times you've been through something unexpected happened. The same way that it happened unexpectedly before, God can do it again. It's a surprise to us. It's not a surprise to God. So just continue to do it, man. Just forget everything else. Forget this world. Do it with God. Do it with the kingdom. Do it with your faith first, God first, and then you'll succeed. Bye.